Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. I'm really happy to speak with Dr. Christine Horner. She's one of the country's leading authorities on integrative and preventive health. And she saw the light a number of years ago, moving toward integrative and preventive health and natural health. Christine, it's nice to talk to you again.
You know, it's wonderful to talk to you as always.
Well, thank you. You know, I just said earlier in the show that a friend of mine did some research and found that vitamin D seems to be an effective, not only preventative, but if you have COVID-19, it lessens the effects of the disease. Do you have any information on that?
Yeah, I mean, it sure does. So one of the things that has kind of handicapped us is that this is a new virus. They call it a novel virus. And so we've seen other types of coronaviruses, but not this one before. So we're kind of at a disadvantage with research with it. However, there are studies that they've done since we had this COVID outbreak where they were looking at the countries where they had kind of the highest levels of COVID and then correlated with the vitamin D levels, and they found that there was an extremely strong association between your vitamin D levels and your risk of having severe complications and, in fact, death. And, in fact, they found if your levels were really low, then the risk of having those complications or having mortality was like twice as high as if your vitamin D levels are in the therapeutic range, which is considered 40 to 60 nanograms per deciliter. So super important to make sure that your vitamin D levels are in that therapeutic range for many, many reasons, but also in relationship to COVID.
What would the average person need to take a day? I've been taking 5. Once in a while, I'll take 10,000 units a day.
Well, everybody's different, and so everybody metabolizes it differently, and there's no way that you know how much you should be taking unless you get your levels checked. So your doctor can do that, or there's a website called nutrientpower.org where you can order a kit that comes to your house, and you can just, it's an at-home test kit. And then when you get your levels back, there's actually a calculator on that nutrientpower.org site where it'll tell you exactly how much you need to be taking depending on what your vitamin D levels are.
Got it. Are there other things that we should take to boost our immune system? And can we do this quickly?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things, but one that most people probably haven't heard of that much is are amino acids. So amino acids are the building blocks for the proteins that make white blood cells and the antibodies in our immune system, so kind of crucially important for it. And our muscles are actually a reservoir of protein and amino acids, so if we start to get sick or whatever, our bodies will instantly start using and breaking down the protein, in muscles in order to supply those amino acids. Now, one thing that we've seen with how COVID-19 in particular is affecting elderly people, and that's because the immune system tends to get weaker as we get older, and also we tend to lose muscle every year after the age of 30 or 40, so we don't have as much, reserves that are available. So the research shows that if you take an amino acid supplement, and I recommend one called Rejuvenate, that it not only prevents muscle loss, but it also supplies the nutrients that you need for your immune system. And so they did really impressive studies where they measured the amount of muscle loss that people normally have, and then tested even on like nursing home patients, elderly nursing home patients that are at bed rest, prolonged bed rest, and you would expect for them to have extraordinary amount of muscle loss. But when they gave them an amino acid supplement, it's actually Rejuvenate is based on these studies where they found that there's a very particular kind of prescription of amino acids. They're essential amino acids, and they have to be given in an exact ratio in order to get the very best results. So they found that when people were given that amino acid supplement, that it prevented them from getting muscle loss, even at bed rest, which is fairly amazing. and it was even able to help normal people just rebuild and repair muscle by as much as 57%. So it's a really beneficial thing to have that amino acid supplement on a daily basis, particularly as you get older, and certainly extremely important for our immune systems.
It would also seem to me that we should be working our muscles out. So not only walking, but maybe doing some light weights?
Well, that would be. I mean, right now we've had, trouble because, people are quarantined, right? And so even me, I'm an athlete, and I just played tennis for the first time in 4 months. So most of us have seen, some, significant muscle loss. And, you just can't even, avoid it. Yes, exercise is important, but even if you're not exercising, like I said, Rejuvenate is something that can keep you from losing, that muscle. And just to, mention, you can, the best place to find it is online, a website called rejuvenatemuscle.com. But if you can do some exercise at home, that's great. People were doing the plank challenge and yoga and things like that. But always beneficial to do some exercise in addition. Yeah.
Can we improve our immune system quickly? That's one. And I guess actually the precursor to that question is, why do traditional doctors, the ones that have been on TV from the CDC, the World Health Organization, saying, no, you can't boost your immune system?
Well, sometimes they say a lot of funny things that us integrative doctors know. Absolutely, you can. So, you can actually help your immune system in a short period of time, maybe, a few days. And that's been proven. And you can tell, for me, like one of the major proofs of it is when I get the prodromal symptoms, for maybe a cold that's working on me or whatever. And man, I slug it like crazy with, all my immune boosting supplements and antiviral things. And 99% of the time the next day I feel fine. So I know I'm doing something, with that. Now, ideally, we say that if you shouldn't think that you could just take an immune boosting supplement and the next day you're going to be fine. And particularly, fighting off infections like COVID, it's like you want to be working on keeping your immune system strong all the time. So this is not something that's just meant to be taken like right now. It's like all the different techniques that we use to help to support the immune system. You really want to be doing it all the time so that whatever comes down the road that we're going to get exposed to, that you're going to be in much better shape to be able to fight it off. And
as we age, with the aging of America, the aging of the world, as we all get older and add a gray hair here or there, unlike, Christine Horner has not a single gray hair on her head. And
only gray roots.
Only gray roots. You can't get into your hair. Yes, I know. Well, you remember me with dark hair, and now you remember me with gray hair. My point is that as we age, we should be taking supplements. We should be exercising on a regular basis to keep that immune system young, or at least functioning.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my most recent book is called Radiant Health, Ageless Beauty. And in it, I talk about all the different, theories of aging that are out there. And so we, no matter what you do, we know that it's normal for our bodies to become weaker. We get the muscle loss. Our immune system isn't as, strong as it used to be. And certainly we can counteract a lot of it by having a, healthy diet and lifestyle and taking some key nutritional supplements. Now, can we avoid all of that? Things that happen to us? No, but we can really minimize the effects of it and help our bodies to stay strong. And it's just really more important as we get older to be aware of it and focused on trying to be as healthy as you can, because it becomes way more important since we have these natural kind of aging processes that are occurring that are weakening us.
Christine, we're out of time. I am sorry, but we will have you back. I know we will in the near future. We'll keep up on COVID and Dr. Christine Horner, her book, as she mentioned, is Radiant Health Ageless Beauty. We'll have some websites on our website coming up on latenighthealth.com. All right, we're going to move on to Robert Clancy. Don't go away as Late Night Health continues. Recently, I met Jacqueline from Bright here in Los Angeles. She gave me a hearing exam and then showed me how to hear again with the new Signia Pure Series hearing aids, and she can give you your life back too. I hear birds chirping, birds cooing, and even my wife. They easily connect to my smartphone. The Signia hearing aids are amazing, and with the charge and go, I don't have to fiddle with batteries and hear all day long. Not hearing is frustrating for you and your family. I know you don't have a problem, but trust me, call Bright Here now for a free hearing exam, a $125 value, yours free, just for making an appointment now. There are offices throughout the Los Angeles area. Call Bright Here now at 323-424-7100. That's 323-424-7100 for a free hearing exam. There's no obligation. Call now, 323-424-7100, or visit them on the web at brighthere.com.
Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Words are a critical aspect of success. How you get your point across is a crucial part of what makes anything sell. So do it right and hire a writer. Whether it's articles, blog posts, technical writings, website content, product descriptions, or ghostwriting anything from a novel to a nonfiction book about your navel, contact Servet Hassan. If you want it to sell, write it right. Email Servet at servet@servethassan.com.
Late Night Health is proud of our partnership with the EBC, the Evolutionary Business Council. Check them out at ebcouncil.com.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Alyn. The show continues in a moment.
Welcome to Guide to the Soul. This is Robert Clancy. Opening your heart is the only way to allow all the light in. Unconditional love does exist, but it takes trust, something not a lot of people are willing to give. But how can you expect it if you don't provide it too? All hearts are refillable, rechargeable, and renewable. So why worry about being burned? By giving, you have everything to gain. Think of how beautiful your life would be if someone loved you without barriers, gave all of their heart to you without conditions, and wrapped their soul around you like it was your last day on earth. Today, you can be that person for someone else.
For more inspiration from Robert Clancy, visit guidetothesoul.com or go to the Moments with Robert page on latenighthealth.com. Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn. Along with the insane Darryl Wayne, we go to our regular contributor, Robert Clancy, and we're going to be talking with Robert about communication. This is a big one, Robert. Robert Clancy, of course, is the author of Guide to the Soul, and you can find out more about him at guidetothesoul.com. You can also learn about his book, The Messenger, by going to guidetothesoul.com, and all of his other writings and how to contact him and all that. Robert, let's talk about communication. That's an important issue.
Communication. Yeah, if you were born with all of the tools necessary to communicate with another, the greatest of which is your heart. And communication can really head off a lot of arguments if you talk things out and don't make assumptions. And when people make assumptions about things or they're not communicating, that's when problems start. It's the ceasing of the communication, not the facilitation of the communication, that causes arguments, causes misunderstanding, and which obviously leads to a miscommunication. So really, if you can communicate, you can talk things out, and it's really about asking questions. A lot of people make assumptions about what other people are thinking or doing, and they're not asking questions, and that's where you run into those problems.
But people think differently. Everybody does. And I'm not talking men and women, women are from Mars and guys are from Venus or the other way around. I'm talking about individuals. So that if we're talking, if Daryl and I are talking, we talk about the old days of being a disc jockey and segueing records from one to another. And we use that term segue. We both know we're talking about records. But somebody who hasn't done that may not understand that. So there's jargon. There's different thought patterns. When you're with somebody for a long period of time, sometimes that communication fails. How do we get it back? Or can we?
There are differences, as you're saying, but it's really not about the differences. It's about finding the common ground, and that's what communication really is. It's being able to get your message across to the other person. And a lot of times when communication breaks down, you have to look at how are you communicating to that other person. Have you placed yourself in their shoes and understand where they're coming from so that it is part of the overall, you know what I mean? So it's really, that is the key, is not only explaining things, but listening. Big part of communication is using your 2 ears. And I remember I heard the quote a long time ago, God gave you one mouth and 2 ears, so you should listen twice as hard as you listen the other one.
I like that. That's a good one. When you sit down with somebody to talk to them, maybe an employer to an employee, to say, hey, you're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. And you're doing X and Z, but you're leaving Y out. Is there a way of communicating with that person so that it doesn't seem to be super critical?
It can be, and you have to be open to what you are saying and how you're saying it. When it comes off, it can be the tone that you're using with the person. It can be, how you present it or how you set up what you're going to say. And you need to have an open space and a trusting space. And really that's kind of one of the keys to effective communication, is the trust between the two parties.
And the same thing between a boyfriend and a girlfriend, a wife and a husband.
Absolutely.
That's a harder one. To me, that's a harder one.
Yeah, it could be. It depends on the relationship and how strong it is. And, it's really about building that relationship. Think about when you're putting a house together. If you don't have a strong foundation in the house, what happens? The house will, doesn't matter what the upper parts look like or how they're put together, they could fall apart at the seams if you don't have a good foundation. And you really want to work on each of those blocks that you're putting in the foundation, and those are trust, respect, forgiveness, kindness, caring, compassion. And the interesting thing about those foundational blocks, love requires exactly the same thing. So when you can put both of those together in that loving relationship and have that trust field, you should be able to say anything openly and honestly and not take it the wrong way.
But everybody interprets things differently. And I think that's part of the problem in communicating with somebody. I don't have an example, or I don't have an example I can share on the air, but you know what I mean? Somebody says, Robert, you made breakfast, and your breakfast was, there's two ways of doing this. Robert, I really didn't like breakfast today. You made the eggs too loose, and I really liked them, very solid. And it comes off as a critical communication, rather than breakfast was really terrific today. I really liked it. Hey, next time, could you make the eggs a little bit more well done?
I can.
You've never had that happen?
Right there. Daryl knows. You can just make those eggs a different way. You just got to keep them on the burner a little longer, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you don't want to be critical about it, right?
Well, that's the key. You don't have to be. If
right.
you say it with a smile and you're laughing about it, how does that come off versus, hey, I really didn't like these eggs? If you're saying it a different way, it's all in the delivery. Everything is in the delivery of how you present what you're talking about. And if you can laugh about it, it all melts it away. And in the heat of the, I would recommend, if you're in a big argument with somebody, just try to find something funny in the middle of it, and you'll probably both end up laughing. I know it sounds crazy, but I've done it, and it has worked, and it dissipates the argument pretty quickly.
Right. That's a very good point. It's a very good idea. Would you say that communication and love, kind of work together? I mean, you've basically said that. Are they synonymous?
It can work together in that way. They do work hand in hand, and maybe interchangeable. They could be synonymous, but they can also work together. And
the biggest communication of all is love?
That is that is the biggest communication of all. That's where everything should lead to, and that's where everything should come from.
We've said this before, love makes the world go round, or should make your world go round, because I think we all live in our individual worlds, and we bring people in to our own worlds. I mean, I love Daryl. I love Josh is sitting in the studio. I love Robert. But we're all, we're still all individuals.
Absolutely, and that's one of the other key points, that you can only control what you do. That's it. And that's the key to everything. When you understand that the only thing that you can control is you and how you receive it and how you interpret things that are coming at you and what you do with them. Everything else is a variable out there. And when you can steer it to understand that and try to put yourself in how is the other person receiving it, and in those communications, you'll see that you'll have much better communication down the road.
Well, if you want to communicate with Robert, you can by going to guidetothesoul.com, guidetothesoul.com. If you want to communicate with me and Daryl, you can by going to latenighthealth.com. You can always send us an email at info@latenighthealth.com, info@latenighthealth.com. Well, that wraps up this edition of Late Night Health. I want you to have a great week, a safe week, and most importantly, a healthy week. And as always, thank you very much, Daryl, for your help.
Pleasure.
And we will see everybody next week. Bye-bye for now.
Latest from the greatest, the best in new music by classic rockers, with your host, the insane Daryl Wayne.
This is Alice Cooper, and if Daryl Wayne is insane, what does that make me? Criminally insane. Stick around to find out.
Many of the artist interviews for the latest from the greatest have been captured on audiobook. There is a Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great information and conversations with people in the industry and people surrounded by the industry, and of course the rock stars themselves.
I'm the Reverend Al Green, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne. And I said Wayne Insane.
You can find it on Amazon or Blackstone Audio. Search for the latest from the greatest from Daryl Wayne, DARRELL WAYNE.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne, aren't you?